What's going on, everyone? Anthony Cofrancesco from Data Dive. This is Office Hours Speed Round. This is launched. Thanks everyone who joined. There's probably going to be a little bit in Office Hours today. If it's your first time using Data Dive, that's a little fast or confusing. So if you have questions, you can scan this QR code or go to datadive.tools/demo and book a training with someone on the team. I do request that you watch some videos first, try to educate yourself at least a little bit with the software, and we'll be able to make more of our time together. While we're going through this, we'll take all Q&A at the end. There's two different ways that you can ask questions. You can raise your hand, or you can add your questions into the chat. And then there's three different ways that you can become a Data Dive expert. Let's see if I can make this smaller. I can't. We have a knowledge base with an AI chatbot. We have our YouTube channel, and then we obviously do office hours 3 times a week. So if you want to access the knowledge base, there is an icon in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you click that, you can navigate directly to the knowledge base, or if you type a question into this chat bar, like how to start a dive, well, then it's going to route you to the correct article or give you the answer right on the screen if it's simple enough. We also have our YouTube channel. I recommend starting with the FAQ videos. And then all of the office hours are typically published within 2 weeks. We've got a bunch of basically all of the old office hours sessions that are already uploaded to the channel. We're just waiting to finish today's session, and then you'll see these live all tomorrow. You're also going to get an email with a link. So if you haven't already subscribed to the Data Dive YouTube channel, you can just find it, Data Dive Tools. I recommend that you do that, and you can see all the previous office hours. So today we're going to be doing speed round. This is all about repetition, and we're going to show you how to go through the workflow of launching 3 different products in 30 minutes. Now, we've been doing speed round. This is week number 2. So last week we validated 3 products in 30 minutes, and next week we're going to optimize 3 products in 30 minutes. So be sure to register and join. We're going to be going through a lot of really good tips on that. So a quick recap of what we did last week during Validate. We had 3 different products. We had this cat tree, we had these children's binoculars, and we had this mini trampoline. And so we went through the entire workflow of how to start a dive, how to clean the master keyword list, how to fill out the product scorecard, how to fill out the profits tool, and then how to run the AI product brief. If you follow this workflow, you'll have a really good system for validating products and figuring out which ones are high risk, which ones are low risk, and which products ultimately fit your budget required to launch. So just to recap, on the cat tree, we had a score of a -300. The budget required to launch was $746,000. And it was just a very competitive niche with a lot of very strong sellers. For the kids' binoculars, we had a score of a -650. The budget required to launch was 143,000. And there were very few keywords, but already very highly competitive for the sellers in that niche. For the kids' trampoline, we had a score of a +350. The budget required to launch was $185,000. And while there were some opportunities for variations, potentially on different styles, there might have also been additional risks for it being a large product due to height and weight. So now that we've gone through and validated those products, they probably wouldn't pass for me as an individual. The budget required to launch is a little bit too high. We're going to move forward as if we're potentially a larger organization with a much bigger budget to launch, and maybe it's okay as a little bit more experience as a seller, and it's okay with the risk level of the other 2 products. We're just going to show theoretically what it would look like to launch them. So this is our product launch workflow. I'd say before, this would probably take more than 4 hours. It would probably take a few days to do all of this. I'd say the first time that you go through and do these steps, it'll take you probably about 90 minutes. And after you've done this 5+ times, you might be able to do it in as little as half an hour. Although if you're actually going to launch a product, I'd recommend spending a little bit more time, a little bit more care and finesse to make sure that you do these things right. I always like to say YOLO, you only launch once. So you really want to get this right from the beginning, maximize that honeymoon period. But the workflow is as follows. You're going to write the listing. A lot of this is going to be done with the AI copywriter. Then you're going to modify the listing. You're going to check that AI copywriter's work. You're going to analyze the AI product brief and deep dive to get an idea of what you should be putting in your main and secondary images. Then you're going to use that to make a creative brief. And then finally, you're going to create the PPC campaigns for launch. Now, obviously, there are other steps and there are other intricacies around launching a product, but this is the bare minimum. Bryant recently launched a product doing just about this, and actually the launch went pretty well. So let's get into the listing writing first. Probably the most important thing that you're going to do. If you mess this up, you can really hurt your prospects of selling the product before you even begin. So in order to build the listing, you're going to go to the listing builder on the left-hand side tab, and then pending that your master keyword list is clean, you're going to open up this AI copywriter. You're going to click this button, and Data Dive is going to do the vast majority of the work for you. You can see here that from a ranking juice standpoint, we're in position 1 overall, 1 for the title, and 9 in the bullet points, 3 in the description. Now, for those of you who don't know about ranking juice, I'd encourage you to watch the videos we're about to post on the fundamentals, the basics. But ranking juice is our proprietary metric that we use to calculate the ranking potential of a listing. So the higher the ranking juice is, the higher probability that you're going to get indexed for relevant keywords. Again, that's with an asterisk, as long as you have your master keyword list clean. So you can see we've got a pretty good title here, at least from a ranking juice perspective, it's very strong. And we're covering the major keyword roots with exact matches. And then we're building out natural human sounding bullet points as well as the description. So this is the AI copywriter output. You could upload this into your listing and you'd probably do just fine. But again, I recommend checking the AI's work just to make sure that everything looks good and to try to make it, even if you can, a little bit more readable. So I came up with this brand name for this mini trampoline. I called it Chumptown. I don't know if it's good, but that's my trampoline brand name now. And so I've added in a brand name. I've added in some extra descriptors to make this a little more readable, 36-inch, 4.5 feet. And then you can see going from this variation to this variation, I actually removed this indoor trampoline kids because we already talked about it being a foldable toddler trampoline indoor. And you can see that as I make these changes, it's tracking my ranking juice. And even with all of these changes, I'm still in a very good spot overall. So I wouldn't necessarily focus on being the number one, although it's great if you can be number one. Sometimes the AI copywriter is going to give you, a score that's well beyond everyone else. So as long as you're in that top section, that top quadrant, I think you're going to be good. Some sellers, I think, focus a little bit too much on making their titles readable. I really think about the title as an SEO tool. This is what Amazon uses to figure out what your product is. And if you do not have the right keywords in this, it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to get indexed for the right keywords. So I've still got 60 characters in my title that I can play with, but for right now, I'm going to say this is good, and I'm going to move on to the bullet points. So by default, my bullet points were ranked in position number 9. So let's add a little bit more keywords. So what you're going to notice is, like I just said, on the ranking juice leaderboard for bullet points, I'm in position number 9 with only 56,000 ranking juice. And these were the bullets that were given to me by default from the AI copywriter. So if I want to workshop these a little bit, what I recommend doing is opening up a duplicate tab from your listing builder. And then in one window, you're going to be looking at the Ruth's usage and hits. You can scroll down to the bottom of the listing builder and you can toggle to that view on the left-hand side. And I'm going to filter so that my remaining ranking juice is at the top. I'm going to do that from just clicking on this column here so that the largest remaining ranking juice keywords are up at the top. Then I'm going to click on this button to open up the AI bullets. This is kind of the sub menu. So if I do this, I can actually see the nuts and bolts for how the AI has written the bullet points based on what the input keyword was. And then you can see here that if I modify, you can actually copy and paste directly into this menu here. I can click generate new bullet points and it'll actually show me what the input keywords were used, what the AI copywriter output was. and then what the ranking juice is per bullet point. So what I recommend doing is looking at the remaining ranking juice keywords, looking at my hit counter and seeing, okay, what have I not used in my title? What could still be in the bullet points and what still has a lot of ranking juice left? So in this example, we have the small indoor trampoline for kids 2 to 5, 2-5. I would copy this keyword, and then inside of this submenu, you can see that I've added this right here. So now when I click generate, the AI copywriter is going to try to integrate these extra keywords. And then once it's done that, I can either generate new versions, which should be different, or I can click use in listing. My recommendation is when you're working in this submenu is to try to keep the bullet points similar. So I don't know if I would necessarily write in these Spanish translations into the listing, but I'm putting all the Spanish keywords together. I'm trying to group like age-related keywords together. I want the AI to be able to work with what's there for it to make sense versus having a lot of unrelated keywords in the same bullet point. So once that's done, you can click use in listing. The cool thing about the AI copywriter is you can keep clicking generate over and over and over again, and it should make you different versions. So we've written the listing, or at least a fairly good listing. I'd say it's probably 80 or 90% of the way there if you spent some time working on optimizations. So now that that's finished, we've checked off the box for SEO and relevancy. Let's move on to the images, and this is going to really cover click-through rate and conversion rate. So where you can see all of the images all in one spot is inside of the part of Data Dive called Deep Dive. And if you click on this icon in the top left-hand side with the arrows pointing to each other, it's going to show you a collapsed all view where you can see all of the competitor images together. Now, this is going to be a very quick rundown in terms of how to select the best images for your listing. But what I'm really trying to look for are trends in order, type, and strength. How can I have similar images, but make mine even better? So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to try to find commonalities of types of images. What's already there? What's already working? And you'll notice too that inside of Deep Dive, this was actually one of my suggestions to the tool. We brought over the color coding from the master keyword list. So anyone who's showing up red is a very strong competitor. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that this is the best images. It just means that this is one of the top performers in the niche. So Little Tikes, if you know children's products, is a massive company in the US. Same thing with Radio Flyer. These are classic legacy brands. So you sometimes have to take these color codings with a grain of salt if you see a very strong competitor here that's probably not focused on Amazon. If you try to launch your product with the same images as this, you likely won't have very good performance. But the reason isn't because of your images, it's because your brand name is not Little Tikes or Radio Flyer. So just something to keep in mind. Sometimes you can find some good trends there. If you see large brand names, I'd try to maybe not copy what they're doing if they're excessively bad. So when we're trying to find commonalities for the types of types of images, I'm going to start first with main image, because this is a big lever that you can pull when it comes to CTR, which is your click-through rate. So when I'm looking at Deep Dive, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to analyze what are the main types of images that sellers in this niche are using to showcase their product as their first image. What are they doing to try to go and get clicks? And in this category, I noticed that there were 4 main types of main images. There was just the product on a white background. There was the product with these swatches that show either features or variations of style. We have a main image that's showing lifestyle, these 2 kids jumping on the trampoline. And then we have a product with props. You can see all of these balls here on the kids' trampoline. So this analysis is very simple. I just want to see what are the different versions of main images. And then I want to go to my creative team and say, hey, I want you to make me versions that are similar to that. And then I'm probably just going to test on my own, or if I've already launched the product through something like Manager Experiments to figure out which one is going to perform the best. Now let's move on to secondary images. This is a little bit more complex, and I didn't cover all of the different types of secondary images that you'll find in this category, but this is a pretty good representation of some of the major ones for this mini trampoline. So what you're going to notice here is that all of these images are pulled from Deep Dive, and every single one of these images talks about product assembly. This is a really big factor and a barrier that people have before they buy this product. So some of these do a very good job, like this one down here. It's not too complicated, but it's showing me that in 4 easy steps, I can unfold the trampoline, attach the legs, attach the arms, attach the other legs, I guess the feet that are going to hold it in place, and that no tools are required. So if I have this objection to buying the product, this is going to make me think, it's pretty easy. Others are probably a little bit too simple, and then others are probably a little bit too complex. So if you're thinking, hey, I need to have an image that talks about assembly, you can look at all of the different types of this same image and then decide how you can make yours even better. Here are all images that talk about the size of the product. Again, some are very complex. They've got a lot going on, like this one in the top right here. Some are very simple. Some are showing you every possible dimension of the product, the width of the base, the width of the handle, the total width, the width of the height off the ground. Others are very simple, just showing you how big it is, giving you a lot of points for scale and context. Some showing you the circumference, the diameter, like every single circle is covered. Again, your job is to say, what are the types of images that already exist in this niche? How can I go and create ones that are even better? These are all lifestyle images of kids having fun. This one is kind of interesting, showing this kid bouncing and trying to jump into a trying to dunk a hoop into a basketball hoop. This one is very clearly Photoshopped. These two look pretty good. This one is talking about skill coordination, strength building, and improving wellness. This one's quite simple. So again, you want to have lifestyle images. How can you make yours even better? These images are all about stability, right? People want to make sure that their kid is not going to fall off. Again, you're just looking through the graphics and saying what already exists and trying to group images together by type. This one is all about safety and durability. Some are very complex, using us versus theirs, showing how their product is better than the competitor. Others are focusing on the springs and about how your hand might get caught in that. Others are focusing on the thickness. So the point is, and the reason I wanted to start with Deep Dive before moving on to the AI product brief, is that I like using the Deep Dive just because it's a good way to exercise that visual part of your brain. But you're going to find all of this information in the AI product brief because, shocker, the people who are doing well are reinforcing the key points that people want to see. And commonly, these are going to come up in either the product detail page or in the reviews. So if you run the AI product brief, like we showed you how to do last time, a lot of these features that I just talked about are reinforced in images. So they're talking about this being durable, about it being safe, non-slip design, easy to assemble. And so this was covered in the section on attributes that are included in the listing. These are largely items that are in the product detail page. This is what customers like. Again, we're seeing easy to assemble, sturdy, good quality. So that's materials. What customers dislike, people are worried about missing parts, difficult to assemble, cheap materials, not made well, missing springs, etc. Value-added ideas is ways to improve the product. Easy assembly, we're seeing some themes here. How to improve the product, simplified assembly, number one. And then here are potential customer avatars. These are potentially people who might buy the product. So based on the information in Deep Dive and then the information that we saw in the AI product brief, we can use this to create a shot list. Now, what I'm showing is a very, very rough breakdown of a shot list. I would spend a lot more time, especially if you're using money from your launch budget to hire something like a creative agency, really dig into this. But just in a few minutes, what I was able to do is say, okay, for main images, I want a shot of just the product. I want a lifestyle image with a white background. I want a product with the props. And then maybe if I have variations, some decals that are showing the extra color variations. For secondary images, based on what I saw in Deep Dive and the AI product brief, I want an image that talks about product safety. I want an image that talks about product sizing, durability, assembly. I want an image that's just about gifting or it being a present. I want to talk about the product inclusions, show people that they're not going to have any missing parts. I want to talk about storage and foldability. I want to talk about high quality materials, and then I want at least 3 lifestyle images. Now you might be saying, Anthony, there's only 6 spots in the image gallery for images. How am I going to fit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 plus 1 main image, which would be 12? And the answer is you don't need to. What I would recommend doing is work with the creative agency, see if they can deliver some extra shots. If you're limited on actual numbers of photography, still images, they might be able to make you differently designed images using graphic design. And so the point is that you're going to have more than you can use, and you're ultimately going to test over time what's ultimately going to go into the gallery. Now, you might be looking at these 3 lifestyle images and you might be saying, hey, Anthony, this is a little bit too general. What do you mean, lifestyle images? What should I have? Well, this is just a quick breakdown of how I might concept some lifestyle images. Again, this is very rough. I would expect to spend much more time on this. I probably only spend about 10 minutes or so, but I was just looking at results from the attributes included in the listing in the AI product brief. And I noticed 3 things that stood out that I thought, hey, these might be good candidates for lifestyle images. So for this point here, excellent bouncing performance, I thought about, what if we made an image and it's got this nice little headline on it that says higher bounces equals more fun. I'm not even trying to do a competitor comparison at this point. I'm just trying to say something that's great about our product. We have excellent bouncing performance. And so we've got this little caption in here. And then I went to Midjourney and I just got some inspiration for the creative team to use when making this of a kid that's bouncing what he feels is very high and looking very excited about it. So I wouldn't necessarily use this in my listing, but I would say to the photographer, hey, I want you to go and try to replicate a shot like this. For this next one on here, this is quiet and safe jumping play. A lot of times trampolines are really noisy. You hear the springs, it's just like, So I was like, what would be something that encapsulates the quiet and safe jumping play? Let them bounce all day and night, 0 noise. And then this Midjourney output was not really close at all, but what I really wanted to shoot for was a parent that was off to the side sipping some tea while the kid was jumping on the trampoline and it was dusk. So it got a few elements of that. I think with a little bit of text, a human will be able to understand what we're shooting for here. Again, this might be a lot for a single shoot, but if you're spending $187,000 to launch this product, probably getting an adult model, a child model, and having a background at dusk is probably not that unreasonable if you really want to dominate the competition. And then another one that I chose, and again, I could choose a variety of lifestyle images for this. I'm not necessarily saying that these are going to be what works the best. I would look at all of everything in my shot list, and if I'm working on a budget, I try to narrow and slim this down a little bit to be like, what's the most important that that's going to move someone to actually buy the product. But another one was about this anti-abrasion and non-slip design. And then I had something like falls don't need to hurt. And I went to Midjourney and I was like, give me a kid that's falling, but he looks resilient and he's ready to get back up. So, I don't know. Very, very quick. You can also see that I pulled in, this is from the customer avatars, like, okay, if we do have a parent model in here, what kind of parent should they be? And it's like they want their kid to be active and take risks, but they also want them to be safe. So that was kind of what I was going for in having this parent in the shot. That is an extremely condensed rundown of kind of what my process would be for creating a shot list for this. If you ever want to check out a free masterclass, you can get this totally for free from Seller Systems. It's like 3.5, 4 hours long, all about coming up with great images for your listing. And we will be redoing that this year. But in the meantime, you can scan this QR code and get that totally for free. Okay, so we have gone through and we've written the listing. We've created a shot list that we could go and use to build images. Now let's go and create PPC campaigns for launch. Now, Data Dive makes this super easy. It's not crazy advanced, but it does get the job done for initial launch campaigns. And all you do is you come to the PPC Campaigns for Launch tab inside of Data Dive, and you're just going to go through and select your major keyword routes. So you can see in this case, I have 12 root groups that are selected. And then Data Dive, after you set the parameters for your campaign, your bidding strategy, and your budget, Data Dive is automatically going to build me based on those 12 keyword routes, 16 campaigns covering 34 keywords and 779,000 searches a month. So you can see it's broken down these campaigns. It's grouped keywords together by similar search volume. And you can see it's just built out these campaigns here. So the only thing left to do at this point would be either to download a bulk sheet, which you can upload to Amazon or modify yourself. Or if you've connected rather your PPC account, you can just select the account and then send the campaigns to Amazon. If you're not seeing anything show up in these drop-down menus, just click on this button here and that'll connect your Seller Central account. Okay, that was a lot. We're going to do it again, but we're going to go a little bit faster and not as much detail and explanation for the other two products. Again, the point with Speed Round is really to just show the workflow. So let's move on to these children's binoculars, and we're going to do the same thing, starting with using the AI copywriter to build the listing. So this is not the default. You can see I've gone through like 3 or 4 iterations here. I added a brand name for this kid's binoculars. I came up with Genius View. I don't know if that's available or if that's trademarked. I added in some magnification here. I put in an extra keyword that wasn't getting a lot of search volume, but that it's a perfect Easter basket stuffer. And I also shortened the title a little bit. So I still have plenty of characters to play with. And my listing ranking juice is in position number 1. I didn't move on to do bullet points, but you can just watch this section again on bullet points. You can see here that for bullets, I'm in position 17. In description, I'm in position number 9. So I would want to go and spend a little bit of time workshopping that a little bit to get that done. So let's move on. We've written a listing, or at least some version of the listing that we could upload. We obviously could spend more time tweaking this, but now let's move on to the main image. So just like before, I found some commonalities in the main image. Like as always, we're going to see product on a white background. We saw the product with packaging. We saw some products that showed inclusions of what's included. And then we also saw some lifestyle images. So I'm just going to go to my creative team and say, make me these 4 options, and I'm going to test and see which one is going to do the best. I also found some commonalities in secondary images. Now, I didn't go through and find every type of image. There's many more than this, but some of the key ones that I found were product anatomy graphics, kind of zooming in and showing the different areas of the binoculars. I saw many graphics that were talking a functional graphic about the zoom, kind of a single feature, some doing us versus theirs, showing that their zoom quality is better. And then I saw a handful of graphics about STEM, more of a lifestyle image about learning and education, STEM being science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So based on what I saw in deep dive in the AI product brief, I'm not going to run into the AI product brief, but you can trust me that all of these things were in fact there. For my main image, I would say I want product, I want packaging, I want inclusions, and I want lifestyle as 4 potential variations. And then for secondary images, the main categories I saw were an image talking about the functions, how the zoom works, an image that's standalone talking about STEM or learning, a product anatomy graphic, a graphic that's talking about sizing these binoculars, like kids have different size faces and hands, and you want to show how this is going to be adjustable. One image that's talking about that this is a great product for families doing outdoor activities together. Durability, so if these kids throw the binoculars on the ground, that it's not going to break. Gift and present was something that was frequent. Materials and safety, like if these binoculars break, they're not going to poke your child's eye out. Adjustability, I think I might have already mentioned. Proper use, so like how the different toggles work, if there is adjustability, and then what's included if there's any bonus items. So now that we have written the listing, we've created the main and secondary images, or at least the shot list. Now we're going to move on just like before and select the PPC campaigns for launch. So this product, if you remember from validation, had much fewer keywords. So I selected the main root groups. You can see I've done that here. They're showing up on the right-hand side. And I'm scrolling down based off that. Data Dive is going to make me 8 exact match campaigns covering 17 keywords and 787,000 searches. So last time, we're going to do it again. And this time we're moving really fast. Last time, let's do it again. And this time it's going to be with the final product, which is the cat tree. So we used AI copywriter to build the listing. I came up with a brand name, Meow Flat. And for this, I actually just let it as a lot of stuffed keywords. I got rid of, like, I don't know what this R was, so I got rid of that. It might have just been a typo on my end. And I shortened this dramatically. I did try dropping it down to just Meow Flat, Cat Tree, Cat Tower, Cat Condo, but that would have taken me down pretty substantially in terms of ranking juice. So I kept it a little bit longer. Bullets are in 7, description is actually in 1. So I'd still want to workshop the bullets a little bit and maybe add in some stuff to make this a little bit more readable. So I would, workshop that a little bit more and upload, and then I would move on and find some commonalities in the main image. What we saw for this product was the product on a white background, the product with some cute cat models, and then the product with some different cute cat models. I really like this one here up at the top. And then there were some sellers that also had the product in more of a lifestyle scenario. So again, not super complicated. I would just go to my design team and say, look, I want one of each of these. Let's swap out some different cats. And I also found some commonalities in secondary images. So there was a lot of images about sizing. There was a lot of images that were product anatomy, talking about the scratching post, the hanging ball, the nice soft space to sit. And then this should not say STEM here, but I did see a lot of lifestyle images that were just showing cats enjoying themselves and being cats. So based on the information in the AI product brief and in deep dive, I was able to create a very rough shot list. Again, I would spend a little bit more time on this, but I would go to my creative team and say, look, I want a photo of just the product on a white background, test some different angles. Let's try a bunch of different cats, a fat cat, an orange cat, sad cat, a sleepy cat, lifestyle images. And then for my secondary images, I wanted to see a product anatomy showing the different spots of the scratching post or the cat tower or the cat condo or the cat tree, depending on what you call it. Lifestyle, maybe cats in actions, like your cat's going to love scratching this. Assembly, how to build it, pretty relevant, showed up a lot inside of the product brief. Multiple cat functions, so if they did have a scratching post, probably a standalone image. If there was a soft space to sit, there was a warm and fluffy spot to sit, I would highlight all of those, likely as standalone graphics. And then I would have a graphic that was about sizing, a graphic about softness, about stability, about durability. And if I had different designs, something that stood out from the pack, different from everyone else's design that was very similar, I would want to highlight that as my own graphic. So last but certainly not least, we're going to create the PPC campaigns for launch. And just like before, this category had a ton of keywords. I think it was more than 200. I selected the main root groups. In this case, I got 13. And based on those 13 root groups, Data Dive has built me 39 exact match campaigns covering a total of 160 keywords. And then again, I can just upload those straight to Amazon, or I can generate a bulk sheet and manipulate those yourself. So parting thoughts. What you should remember when launching a product is that Amazon's ranking algorithm comes down to 4 main components. You have relevancy, which is your SEO, click-through rate, conversion rate, and revenue. Relevancy is one of those checkbox items. You either get it right from the beginning, you can change it later, but you really should get it right from the beginning. And it's really just, is your listing written in the correct way that's going to allow you to get indexed for the keywords that you want to tell Amazon that your product is, those relevant keywords. That's either like a yes or no, and you can really help, you can really take a lot of the guesswork out of that by looking at ranking juice and making sure you have the most relevant keyword roots reinforced in an exact match, starting with your title and then moving out throughout the rest of the listing. Once relevancy is checked off and you get indexed for those keywords, moving up in organic rank is going to come all down to your performance. So if someone searches for a keyword, who on average is going to give the best click-through rate, the best conversion rate, and the best revenue on a historical basis? If you are overperforming relative to the niche average, your organic ranks are going to go up. If you are underperforming relative to the niche average, your ranks are going to go down. And if you're performing the same as everyone else, you can expect to stay right about in the middle or to very slowly go up or down, but largely flat. So click-through rate, what we talked about today, is going to be a big factor. A big lever you can pull rather is your main image. Conversion rate, a big lever you can pull is your secondary images and your A+. And revenue is going to be a big factor of your organic, but a big lever you can pull is your paid sales. So when you launch a product, how quickly your rocket ascends or descends is going to come down to these three metrics. How are you performing relative to the average for the niche for click-through rate, conversion rate, and revenue? What I would think about with SEO, your relevancy, how your listing is written, is the maximum height that the rocket is able to reach. So if you have a really great listing from an SEO standpoint, but you have very poor metrics, your rocket is going to climb very, very, very slow on the way to reaching that max height. If you have great metrics, great click-through rate, conversion rate, and revenue, your rocket's going to go very, very fast. But if your listing is not optimized, it's going to reach a max height. That's why there's some sellers that they have a great product, great listing, and it's just can't get indexed for certain keywords. Then they use data dive after years, they rewrite their listing and suddenly they have a new ceiling, and then they get indexed for a bunch more keywords, get a bunch more sales, and it happens very quick. So just something to keep in mind, the better that you can have all of these things working for you from the beginning, from day one, especially in that first 30-day, what people call the honeymoon period, the faster you're going to be able to climb these ranks. Now, this, I think, is a fairly conservative estimation. If you're following our launch SOPs, you should be able to get indexed for about 65% of the keywords in the master keyword list within a couple of months. If you're selling in a category that has lower competition, this could happen in as little as a few weeks, 1 month. And if you're outperforming relative to the niche, like you can compete a lot faster. If your niche is very competitive, it might take longer. So this is the last thing that I'll leave you with. You've probably seen this if you were in the quick start guide for launch. Theoretical, hypothetical question, but an easy question to answer. Which one of these two products has the better launch? Launch 1 or launch 2? And so we haven't covered all of these things today, but is the product or the seller that they only make one main image, they just put their product on a white background, and let's say their image strength for their main image is 70%. Or the person that doesn't optimize for ranking juice, they're only 50% midway in the pack, and their SEO is only at 50%. Or maybe you try to say, hey, I'm going to make my images exactly like Little Tykes, and I'm just going to show 4 products all on a white background with no text, no additional context. And my images, let's say their strength is only 50%. So overall, between all of these things, the average performance of launch 1 is 55% versus launch 2, that from the beginning, this person has multiple main images. They actually come up with a lifestyle image that's better than anyone else in the niche, 20% better. Their listing is actually higher ranking just than everyone else. They've filled out their images. Maybe even they have multiple videos on the listing. They have like video reviews in addition to their listing video. They have A+ content. They did custom packaging instead of the packaging that was given to them by default from the supplier. And their average, instead of being 55%, is 125%. Who do you think is going to have their rocket reach that maximum point faster? Who do you think is going to perform better? It's not a hard question. It's going to be launch 2. So that's where we're going to wrap up for today. If that seemed fast, if that seemed complicated, don't stress. That was meant to be quick. You're going to be able to catch this video on the YouTube channel. We're going to send an email out tomorrow that has this and all previous office hours sessions. And if you ever have questions, I recommend watching videos first and playing with the tool to get acquainted with it, and then book a training call with the team, and we'd be happy to help.